tiny, haunted house. Several years ago, I was searching for a wire plant stand so I could set my houseplants out on the back deck for their summer airing. Unfortunately, few of the type I was looking for still existed, since most had rusted and been discarded years ago. So when I first heard about a store that specialized in garden antiques, I thought I would give them a try. Though I didn't find what I was seeking, I did come back with quite a true story. The store, located in the Wicker Park/Bucktown area of Chicago, was housed in a tiny workers' cottage built in the years immediately following the Great Fire of 1871. It had probably once been owned by a family of very modest means, but refurbished with a fresh coat of paint, a white picket fence, and a colorful mosaic path leading to its front door. It now had sort of a storybook aura. Therefore, I was surprised when that door led to a dismal front parlor, gray, dusty, and piled high with three-legged chairs, cracked mirrors, and other broken antiques. Illuminating the mess was a single, low-watt bulb hanging from a frayed wire. Obviously, I was disappointed, having traveled halfway across the north side just to end up in a junk shop. As I was turning around, intending to leave, a pair of velvet curtains I hadn't noticed before parted, and a sweet-faced woman called out, "Please, come into the back parlor. It's much nicer in here." Since she somewhat resembled a good friend of mine, I felt comfortable following her deeper into the house. It was as though I'd stepped 100 or more years into the past, for the second room was decorated as it might have been when new, assuming the owners had some taste and money. Furnished with a suite of velvet-upholstered furniture, a couple of bookcases, needlepoint footstools, and all manner of Victorian bric-a-brac. It lacked only an upright piano to duplicate the photos I'd seen of my great-grandparents' cozy home. In fact, if not for a small counter in the back, you would not have recognized the place as a business. "Wasn't I right?" asked the shop owner. "It is nicer back here, isn't it?" "Yes," I agreed, my eyes still taking in the floored decor. "How did you ever recreate such an authentic interior?" "Oh, Victoriana is an interest of mine. Plus, I had help. But surely you're here to see the garden antiques. Just follow the hall out to the back. They're in the yard." Following her directions, I passed through the remainder of the house, which included a Victorian-era kitchen, complete with cast-iron stove, arriving at a back porch with steps leading to the yard. There were only a few items scattered about, mostly old watering cans and flower pots, but no wire plant stands. "Oh well," I thought as I headed back to the parlor. At least I'd gotten to see a really interesting old house. The owner was waiting to welcome me back. "Did you find what you were looking for?" she asked. "Well, to be honest, I was searching for a wire plant stand, so no. But you have a lovely business." "Thank you," she said, leading me to think our encounter was at an end. But just as I turned to go, she asked, "Would you like a cookie?" "I just made some this morning." "Of course," I said, wondering idly if she'd baked them in the old coal stove. Seating myself carefully on the velvet sofa, I looked around, noticing as I did, yet another pair of velvet curtains that seemed to conceal a room off to one side. When the owner returned with a plate full of cookies, I asked her what was back there. "Oh, that," she said. "It's their bedroom. I usually keep the curtains closed until I leave for the day, but you may take a peek if you'd like." Noting she'd said they're not I asked, "Does somebody live here after you go home?" It seemed an odd arrangement, but I tried not to judge. "Well, yes, in a way they do. And you understand just what way, don't you? The minute I saw you, I knew we shared an ability to sense those who've passed on. Or, in this case, those who've never really left their home. Am I right? Cookies or no cookies, I was beginning to get a little creeped out by the shop owner's statements. Not because I thought she was delusional, but rather because she was right about my ability, which I'd never had recognized so blatantly before by a stranger. She was psychic, and knew I was too, and thus had no problem disclosing the fact this cute little cottage was haunted. Called out for my otherness, I felt I had no choice but to allow my sixth sense, or third eye, as I prefer to call it, to do its thing. I received an impression that the invisible occupants of the house were a middle-aged couple, and that while they weren't present in the parlor with us, they were somewhere close by. They're a married couple, aren't they? In their 40s? I asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, I think they were the first owners of this house. Go ahead and take a look at their room, if you'd like. I've made it nice for them, and they seem to enjoy it. At least, the sheets and quilts are must when I come in the morning. Against better judgment, and with a feeling I was invading someone's privacy, I looked behind the velvet portieres. The small chamber contained a carved wooden bed and all the other furnishings of a proper Victorian bedroom. There was even a marble fireplace, ensuring that if the occupants felt chilly, they could light a ghostly fire to keep warm. Very nice, I said, though all the while questions were running through my mind. Who were the couple sharing this tiny house, and how had their tenancy been negotiated? Did the shop owner hold sway during daylight hours, turning things over to them at night? Were they the ones who'd helped decorate the space? And just where did they go during the day? Taking a cookie for my journey, I was again preparing to leave when I distinctly heard footsteps overhead. It sounded as though two people were walking around on bare wooden floors. "There's an upstairs?" I asked, not remembering seeing a second story on the cottage. "Yes, and you have living tenants?" "No."